Hello, Formula One fans, and welcome back to F1 in Focus. If you are unfamiliar with the show, we are the only podcast where a Lewis and a Max fan can very much get along in the wonderful world of Formula One and actually stay friendly during a season. My name is John, and I'll be your host today. And with me is the man with the best hair in the business. It's none other than James Hazel.
Hello, good to be back.
Oh, the fans are back, James. We are back.
It's been
How
quite
you
a
doing?
break. Yeah, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm quite all right, mate. It's been too long of a break, honestly.
Yeah, it has.
Holidays doesn't always align with the Formula One break, I'd say.
No, that's not a priority when booking a holiday.
No, wow, it should be, right? And if you all start listening to us more, it should be. It might be.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So how have you been, James?
Yeah, been pretty good. Yeah, enjoyed the races, enjoyed the break until about the third week or the second week, and then I was just ready for Formula One to start again. And then yeah, I'm glad to be back into the season now.
Yeah, definitely. And what a season this is out turning to be. But before we go into that, James, or is it sad news? I think for everyone listening and watching us, you
What's
want to
that?
announce it or shall I?
You announce it.
All right. With pain in my heart, but actually not really. I have to admit, this is going to be the last F1 in Focus we'll ever record, James.
Yeah, apparently so.
We're saying that with a smile for some reason.
Yeah.
So when we took up this gauntlet of doing the show, of course, really loving it, still love it, but we didn't think something through that well. Our friends, I'm calling them friends because hey, they're friends of us at Liberty Media, don't quite like using F1 in the name of a show or something you do with content.
No.
So we are forced to change our name, which
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's all right because we actually noticed that we wanted to get some shirts printed and stuff as well, but we can't because every time we put F1 on a shirt, even though the logo doesn't actually seem the same, we just get a copyright claim.
Yeah.
So it's time to change, but it's time to change to something completely new, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just gonna continue the story. You just fill in blanks. We are also starting. Well, we're coming up when we have to change this name. We're actually gonna change the way we do it. So the podcast will stay the same, but with a new name, which we'll be announcing really, really shortly, within a week of this coming out. But we won't
Next
say
episode should be under the new name, hopefully.
100% will be. We're working hard on the new logos, claiming the names and stuff, and checking them on copyrights as well this time. But it all looks good. But we're also combining it with one of our greatest hobbies, sim racing. So our new channel, which is YouTube and podcasting, will be a podcast, just as this one probably looks pretty much the same with the new name, talking about Formula One.
Yep.
And we're focusing on trying to make weekly content about everything going on in the sim racing world, which means you see a fast James, you see a slow John, you see a very cool looking new sim at my stage and very cool looking hardware at James's place. But we're definitely going to make some cool content there. So we took this as an opportunity, not only to have to switch names, but also switch the focus a little bit. So the new channel, more sim racing, more games on the YouTube channel, and the podcast stays the same, but on the new name.
Yeah, so if you're not interested in the sim stuff, the podcast won't be changing, so you can carry on just listening to that. And if sim racing and that side of racing is of interest, then feel free to join us on a little sim racing adventure.
Definitely. So I'm looking forward to that. I got an issue that I'm a little bit injured, so I haven't tried the new sim too much yet. Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll probably start you making content and I'll be the editor.
Something like that.
But anyways,
probably,
not really sad news, just a new name, a new logo is coming soon. What we're aiming for, and that's what we're trying to work out now with Spotify, for example, is that we can just keep the same feed so you can keep subbed to these channels. And you'll see it appear on the new name, but nothing else would change for you. If that would happen, we'll let you know next episode, but then you might as well miss us. So it's a little bit hard, but we need to get it fixed before the next 2 races, according to our friends at Formula One. So we'll be friends. We love you. James, it has been a while. We have been going to 2 races, 3 races we missed. Well, we didn't miss them, but we didn't make content about them. That was Hungary. Belgium, of course, and that was the Netherlands. We will focus on the Netherlands, I guess, in this episode. And looking forward. And we have a lot of predictions to catch up with. But this show wouldn't be called F1 in Focus, which would probably call too much longer if we didn't put a focus point on. So what would be your focus point for the first topic in today's episode?
Probably the performance of McLaren.
All right, let's talk about
it's a pretty obvious one.
Let's talk about the orange performance.
What's happened? Where's Red Bull gone, and where have McLaren come from? Because
I have so many opinions about this.
That Zandvoort felt like quite a statement, winning by like 22 seconds, I think it was, or 21 point something seconds. It was the biggest win margin since Lewis Hamilton at Jeddah, I think it was. I think I saw that stat in 2021. I think Red Bull were caught by surprise. I think Max was caught by surprise. I think the whole paddock pretty much was caught by surprise. Even McLaren to some extent, because I don't think they thought they were going to be quite that fast. It's going to be an interesting end to the championship, that's for certain.
You want my positive take, my neutral take, or my negative take, my fan take?
Just go with all 3. Let's just hear all 3.
All right. As a fan, I'm concerned. I'm worried. It got me frustrated. I don't mind Max not winning this and deservingly. I mean, hats off to Lando, right?
Yeah.
Also, Lando saying simply lovely just hurts my fanism, but let's not talk about that too much. But it can happen. It happens, and we have outlier races. I mean, they didn't win Belgium, so it's. I think it could be an outlier. My neutral take is, hey, you know what? This is what happens when you get a win penalty. You bring 2 upgrades at Red Bull, and they simply don't seem to work. While McLaren finished 4th last year, don't forget that, and has way more time to develop, and their development actually seems to work. I think pretty much what the rules intended it to be, and the rule seems to be working, and it's just unfortunate we have to change it in 26. But basically, this is what everyone wanted. This is what everyone hoped for, and it's what's happening now. That's just my neutral perspective of, hey, those rules they put in place, they seem pretty much working.
Yeah.
My other neutral-ish perspective is that I don't think Red Bull actually collapsed or demolished or anything like that. There's 2 things going on here. One, we still have Checo that didn't perform that badly this weekend, but did in Belgium and did in Hungary, of course.
Yeah.
So he still topped, and it's just a miracle he was actually able to drive this weekend. But let's not go into bashing Checo for this podcast, because next thing you know, Checo's coming for a copyright claim. So let's not go there. But I think that's why McLaren generally feels like they're catching up, not necessarily. And the big gap this weekend, we've seen this before, even with a dominant Red Bull last year. So this Red Bull seems extremely finicky or sensitive to set up.
Mm-hmm.
We had free practice 1 that started late because of really bad weather. We had free practice 2, and now it's either 2 or 3. I think it's 3 where, was it 2 where our friend Sargent ended his career? Or was it free practice 3?
I think it's free practice 3. That's free practice 3.
Yeah, so free practice 2 was sort of a mix of combination weather with extremely high wind.
Yep.
Free practice 3 just dropped, just totally collapsed because Sargent pinned it, and they had 2 minutes of practice. At that point, Red Bull decided to set 2 different setups on both cars, because they felt they were better than everyone except McLaren, I think, and just took a gamble at which way was the right intent to learn from. Because if the Red Bull doesn't have 3 practice sessions to set up the cars, we've seen it at multiple sprint weekends. We've seen it at weekends where but the cars, we've seen last year where Max won at Las Vegas, but they missed free practice 1 because of a track issue.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have the time to set up the car properly, that car is not on max performance. And McLaren seems to have an easier car to drive on that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. No enough practice time to get the car right. Taking a gamble. So Max ran a high downforce wing, for example, and the old floor, where Checo used the new floor with a low downforce wing.
Yeah.
So totally different setups. And you would, if you look at the car Max was driving, he kept oversteering every single corner. If you see of some of the onboards, I'm pretty sure it was just also a bad setup. I think the McLaren was absolutely fantastic. Not put anything downplaying that. But I definitely think the Red Bull got it so wrong on that gamble. And I think Max finishing second he isn't winning the race anymore, but was actually a detriment of him being a good driver, putting that car still in the second place.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the fact that Max did finish second and he was pretty well ahead of third place was, that's testament to Max more than anything else. Problem with Red Bull's setup potentially. To me, that's just Red Bull's problem. Like everyone has the same. If when we have mixed conditions in practice sessions, red flag stuff like that, everyone had the same running time. And if the Red Bull is harder to set up, that's a Red Bull issue.
It's definitely a Red Bull issue, but it's an explainable.
Oh
issue.
yeah,
They've always been bad, honestly, when they don't have all 3 sessions.
Yeah,
of worse, they've been worse when they don't have 3. I think
it helps explain it, but at the same time, that's their problem. And if they want to run a car that requires a lot of setup time, but when they get that setup time, runs perfectly and amazingly, and is faster than all the other cars on the grid or whatever, then they've got to accept that you're not always going to get those perfect conditions, and when you do, you're potentially in trouble, like they were in Zandvoort. So.
The trouble is still getting second, right? That's
the thing. They're still getting second, so there's a lot of talk now about the championship and stuff, and I think it has the potential to be exciting. Definitely, whether it plays out that way is yet to be seen. Yeah, I think we're going to need to see the next probably 4 races to really understand how this is going to affect the championship. I think because the other thing everyone's forgetting, like McLaren ran away with the race in Zandvoort, but Norris wasn't really anywhere in Spa, and Piastri was fighting, but it was the Mercedes that were pretty quick in Spa, and they were pretty quick in Hungary as well. I don't think it's a case of the rest of the season's just Red Bull to lose or McLaren to win it. I think there's too many other factors at play, and Ferrari have an upgrade package coming to Monza. So far, their upgrade packages have not really done anything, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that this weekend's package will do nothing as well. So there's a lot of scope for a lot of mixing up on the grid still, even this late in the season. And I don't think anything's a given. Even if McLaren do have the fastest car, you're then still putting a lot of expectation on Lando to maximise every weekend.
Well, let's make that second focus point, right?
Yeah, okay.
Second focus point, though. So we've established that, I think it's safe to say, concerning your first point, is McLaren, what happened there. I think McLaren just hit all their upgrades right and got proper use of all their wind tunnel time they got from finishing fourth.
Yeah, and I think they had a sort of perfect storm scenario at Zandvoort as well, because I think, Mercedes, Red Bull, they just had bad weekends where McLaren had a good weekend, and maybe that was just, for all we know, that there was an element of a fluke to that they just happened to hit the sweet spot of the setup that no one else could find in those sort of tricky practice sessions. So,
and only work for Norris either, right? It's not that boat flying. And also, Lewis messed up qualifying.
Completely messed up qualifying.
And that was a personal fault, and still came back in the race fighting and got a good race in. So him starting up further on top would make a difference as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there seems to be a bit of controversy on social media at the moment, or earlier in the week, because we're recording this on Thursday now after the race. Lewis had said something like, "Oh, if I'd started where George had started, I'd have moved forward." And people seem to be taking that as some sort of dig. But I mean, if you look at his performance, he's not really wrong. He had a very good race, I think, as did Leclerc, and Perez to some extent by his standards. But yeah, let's get into the next focus point, shall we?
Definitely will. Next focus point, though, is Max's championship lost now?
It's not lost. It's definitely not lost. I think that's, there's a lot of chatter about this in the,
Is it over, James? Should I sell all my Red Bull shirts? Is this done? Dusted?
Not in the slightest. He's got a 70 point, I think it's 70 points lead in the championship at the moment. If he finishes second and Lando finishes first, that's only an 8-point swing.
Or 9 if he gets fast lap.
If he gets fastest lap as
or
well.
6
So,
if the other way around. But
so
9 races to go.
There's some pressure on Max, but I think there's more pressure on Lando because he basically needs to perform at his peak every race for the remaining races of the season. And we're talking about a guy who's only won 2 races in his career.
That was my line.
Sorry.
No.
Can't forget that. It's like, all Lando needs to do is win the next 9 races. How many drivers in history have won 9 races in a row?
Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and Schumacher.
Lewis hasn't won 9 in a
row. Max did. Vettel did. Vettel did, I think.
Yeah, I think the most Lewis has won in a row 6. Might even be 5. Winning 9 in a row. Vettel in the Red Bull days, and Verstappen last season, who I think Verstappen went on to win 10 in a row, didn't he?
Max has 10 and 9.
Yep.
Then Vettel won 9. Ascari, Rosberg, Schumacher at 7.
Yep.
Brabham and Clark and Hamilton and Mansell at 5. So, yeah.
Like, to win 9 in a row, very, 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 very difficult. To win 9 in a row when you've only won 2 races in your entire career so far, that's got to be impossible, surely. That's not going to happen. And plus, like I said, Mercedes didn't do very well this year, this race, but previous races they've looked pretty fast.
One spy.
Yeah, I think they've got probably a reasonable chance in Monza. Maybe not a great chance because their top speed isn't brilliant. I think they definitely have a chance in Singapore. They definitely have a chance in Brazil. So, there's a lot of variables for the remaining races. I'd love to see the championship close up. Don't get me wrong, because I'd love to see a fight for the championship. I don't like to see anyone run away with it. Even as a Hamilton fan in 2018 and 2019 or whatever, when he's winning in Turkey with 3, 4, or 5 rounds to go, whatever it was. Yeah, I like to see him win the championship. I want to see a fight. That was my problem with even the McLaren win this weekend, was that it was like Max last year. There's nothing happening at the front apart from Max stole the lead at the start of the race. Lando gets it back after about 10 laps, and then the front of the race.
22 laps, but hey.
Or however long it was, it wasn't. It didn't feel like much was happening at the front. There was a lot of action further in the field, and that was great to see.
For a track that's known for not being able to overtake.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the most overtake last year, and there was a lot of overtakes this year.
Yeah, everyone thought Hamilton's race was just over because he was starting, he qualified 11th or 12th? And
12th, I think, yeah.
3-place penalty, which, didn't end up being 3 places because a couple of people, Albon got disqualified because of his floor being 3 millimeters too, or 0.3 millimeters too wide or something ridiculous. It was a tiny margin, so tiny that all they had to do was sand it back, and it was within the limits doing that. I think Magnussen took a penalty, didn't he? Started from the pit lane, did he, Magnussen? So, Hamilton should have started, 15th, ended up starting 13th, I think. He made his way through the field. Perez got a couple of overtakes. Lando obviously got an overtake. There was a bit of action with Perez and Sainz. There was lots of overtakes further back in the field. The Aston Martins seemed to be every other lap involved in some sort of fight.
I was thinking Aston Martin does the reversed McLaren. They got a good result. I heard last year, heard their Winton on development time.
And just go backwards.
Go backwards this year.
Maybe that's their plan to sign Newey, is to say, look
We
at all
ended
this
up
aero
eighth.
time we've got. We've tanked for a season so that you can join us with all this aero time and extra budget.
Oh, and also you can live. You live close by, and we have a lot of money to spend at you.
Yeah. Maybe that's the big brain play that no one's seeing. Everyone's just looking at Mercedes. Aston Martin, thinking, "Oh, they're useless. They're going backwards." But the big brain play here is actually that they're sabotaging themselves so that they've got more budget and more wind tunnel time for Newey when he.
Now we know what Alpine is doing. They're selling the team, saying, "You know what? We have a lot of time for you as a new engine developer as well."
Yeah. The flaw in their plan is that they tanked themselves, but then didn't hire anybody that could make the use of all the budget and wind tunnel time that they get.
True.
But yeah,
honestly, though, they haven't been doing bad Alpine last 2 races.
No, since they sorted their weight issue out at the start of the season, they're doing reasonably well. Yeah, Ocon's done all right in a couple of races. Gasly's done all right in a couple of races. It doesn't feel like there's ever been a weekend yet where both drivers have had a good weekend together at the same time, other than maybe Monaco, and then Ocon wiped himself out trying to overtake Gasly
in the first,
and got himself sacked.
in about corner 5. Yeah. But James, I think I agree with you with Lando Norris and Max Verstappen fight. Also, I've heard someone say the Dutch don't like Lando Norris or against him. Every single shirt in the McLaren fan shop that was available in Zandvoort got sold out. Every single cap with his name on it sold out. Just saying, 90% of the fans were Dutch there. We didn't. The 10% didn't buy all those shirts.
Yeah, I don't think there's any major hate towards Lando yet. I think part of that is because he's friends with Max. And I think part of that is because they haven't really come to proper blows yet, other than, there's Red Bull Ring, there was a bit of a...
Once.
Yeah. But it's not... I think there's the potential for that to change when it becomes a tight championship, I think.
I will change. But
it's always going to. I mean, if, after that, I think after 2021, I don't feel like the Dutch fans are ever going to be happy with Lewis and be fans of Lewis. And I think there's an element of that with British fans towards Max, but unfortunately that's just
or British commentators. You want to highlight that one yet?
I didn't hear that, so I can't voice an opinion on it.
Well, I can tell you what happened for a second there.
Okay.
Lewis Hamilton's coming up. Some would say he's an 8-time world champion, Crofty says.
Crofty said that, or Brundle.
Martin Brundle, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Some would say he's an 8-time world champion.
Well,
you can't do that, mate.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, a lot of people have accidentally called him an 8-time world championship, including Christian Horner himself. So, yeah, I would take it as tongue-in-cheek, but I didn't hear it, so I don't know the context either. So I don't know how he said it and whether there was some sarcasm or whatever there or what. I don't know.
All right. But hey, back on the point of Norris, because was a little bit of frustration there. Just back on point of Norris. I agree with you. He won 2 races, winning 9 more in a row would mean he will win 10. I've always said, and history's proven, that if you win 10 races in total in a season, you're a champion anyways.
Yeah.
So if he wins, then total, he probably win. Max is on 7 now.
Mm-hmm.
So if Max takes 3 wins, I'm not going to get there anymore, I think. But I just want to highlight, like in Spa, I mean, it's just 3 weeks ago, and I think most people forgot. Max started in 11th after getting pole position and getting 10th place penalty.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to lie about this, and I think was it Norris started in fourth? No, let me just for to be sure. Let me check. Yeah, Norris started in fourth and finished behind Max in that race
Yeah.
with the same car.
I
So
think I think the only argument I'd make there is the same argument we made during our predictions when we were predicting ahead towards Spa, and you know, and that is that Spa is Max, one of Max's tracks, isn't it? It's like he Max Verstappen in any car at Spa is going to be fast. It's one of his
true,
tracks, isn't
true.
it?
But I mean, he gained on that race while being behind on a worse car.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Um,
this is the thing. I don't think that's all right. I think that will happen again. Basically,
and I
I think
think
there's
what
going to
happened,
be
yeah,
instances during the rest of the season where Max is going to gain points in the championship and extend his lead slightly, even if it's just him finishing second, Lando finishing third, or him finishing third and Lando finishing fourth, whatever it is. He's going to finish ahead of Lando at some point during the rest of the season and extend his championship. And the gap in the championship at the moment is so wide that Lando can't afford any of that for the remaining season. He can't afford to skip a race and not gain points.
might not have to take an engine penalty, so there's a little bit luck there. But
Yeah, but then when Max did take an engine, he made points on Lando anyway
yes,
by
yeah.
finishing ahead of him. So it doesn't matter, does it? Like what happens for the rest of the season. Um, that part of the story's already played out, and it's played out in Max's favor. So
All it needs
yeah,
is one rainy race where someone messes up.
oh yeah.
And
I
it's
mean,
definitely looking forward to the
eh,
tension. Not as a
yeah,
fan, but
anything can still happen. And you could end up with Max getting a DNF and Lando winning and just gaining 25 points out of the bag like that, or you could have the opposite happen. Anything can happen. I mean, you know, I remember 2021, Abu Dhabi, no, yeah, Abu Dhabi final race,
mhm.
and you messaging me with 20 laps to go. Congrats, Lewis has won this, and I said, I'm not accepting that yet. Anything can happen yet. It's not over. And look how that played out.
I mean, that
That was
was
the
a 1 point difference
that was the
going in
final
that race,
race of the
though.
season. Like, and we've got what
Yeah, but
9
that's final
races
race
left
of
to
the
go.
season with 1 point difference between them,
Yeah.
right? And that's a
Okay.
bit
Well,
different. That
we've got more races and we've got more points, so there's still plenty of time for something to happen. Is all I'm saying. Like, there was plenty of time even in 20 laps of the final race for something to happen. This is 9 races or whatever's left. So
9 left. Yeah.
yeah. So there's plenty of scope for swings in the championship. The problem is, I think the chances of big swings in Lando's favour are quite limited. I think
Issue
Red
still
Bull,
is that Max is Mr. Consistent
yeah,
and has learned to when things don't go your way, you maximize what does get
yeah,
your way. And
damage limitation.
there's the 21 season and afterwards has shaped him so much. He doesn't look stressed. He looks agitated with Red Bull at times.
Yeah,
I'm gonna lie there, but he
yeah.
doesn't look like he doesn't sound stressed on the radio when Lando overtook him. He was just saying, "I got a
Well,
lot of
not
oversteer.
there,
It's
but
annoying." But
there's been, yeah, but he was still getting stressed about his car a little bit about, it's not doing what I want it to do and stuff like that. And then Hungary, like that felt like a meltdown over the radio at Hungary.
it's true. It must be annoying though that if you have been saying this is going to happen, you feel it happen, and there's not much. Like I
Yeah.
am very much of the opinion, and not because I'm a fan, but also I think I like to see. I sort of recognize racecraft. Let's put it like that.
Hmm.
I do think there are a few circumstances where Max actually drops anything. So if he can't get the car over P4, for example, then the P4 is actually the maximum. The car can't go faster than Max brings that car around. And that must be frustrated if you know, like if we play sim racing, at least let me put for myself. I usually know, like, oh, I left some time there. That's no way. I can still do this fast. I can just do this better. I'm pretty sure when Max drives in circles, he is like, this is the maximum this car goes.
Yeah,
And that must
probably.
be
Yeah.
frustrating to see that that's not fast enough.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a team sport, isn't it? So the team and the car needs to be good, and every other driver on the grid has had to deal with that as well. So
True.
you can't have the fastest car all the time.
Nope.
There's
Nope.
Mercedes benefited from it for quite a long time, which was quite unusual in Formula One. And then look where they ended up in 2022.
They're back,
Uh,
sort of.
yeah, you you'd have to be. I think it's just impossible. I don't think there's any driver in the history of Formula One that's had the fastest car every season, and every driver's got to accept that they're going to have stints in their career where they don't have the fastest car, and
True.
all they can do is do the best they can do with the equipment they've got. And if the best they can do with that equipment is finish fourth, they've got to aim for fourth.
Yeah, very
And maybe
true.
hope that something goes wrong in front of them and they can snatch a podium or a win. Because there are even with not the fastest car, there's still opportunities. A little bit potentially down to luck or just to making a gamble and it working out to get a better result than the car or the car and driver combination deserves on a given day. So, but I think Red Bull. I think that car still has the potential to be on the podium pretty much everywhere, other than maybe Singapore. I think certainly going by last year, that car didn't perform well there at all.
No, it
But
didn't.
then the changes to the car that have made it a little bit slower everywhere else might actually have balanced it out and make it a little bit better at Singapore. We don't know yet, so we'll find out when we get there. But
I think
uh,
after Singapore, we have a good indication if this is an open fight or not.
yeah, I think so.
I think that's fair. I think Singapore and Kota usually don't fit them well. Although I do have the impression that like everyone is somehow say that Red Bull isn't on the best pace on Monza, but they won last year as well. So I'm not sure why that would be.
Yeah,
So we'll see. We'll see. Talk about predictions, James. It's time we
let's do
take a
it.
look at two of our last previous three races predictions and the next race. We're
Okay.
skipping Zandvoort gladly because I would probably lost that. Um, to James, looking back, let's put it like this. Let's start the predictions. So
Yes.
currently 21-19 in your advantage, James. In Hungary, you predicted the first DNF being Sargent, and I predicted it being Checo. In reality, it was Gasly dropping on the first lap.
Yeah.
It happens. Bonus car was how many safety cars were there? The fact I couldn't find them says to me that it was 0.
I think it was 0. Yeah.
So that means you said 1 and I said 2. You won it.
Okay, I'll take that.
Pole position, you said it's going to be Max. I said it's going to be Max, but Norris grabbed pole position in Hungary. You said that Lewis would win. That would be cool, winning second races in a row.
Yeah.
And I said Max going to win. In reality, Piastri took the win.
You did. Yeah.
Talking about team fight, we could have done a whole podcast about that, but hey,
Yeah, that'd have been it's old news now, but yeah, that was interesting.
That does mean that the end result after this round, Hungary, is 22-19 in your advantage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we went into Belgium. We did predict Belgium, and we said pole position. I said it's going to be Max. He said it's going to be Max. Max got pole position, but got a penalty. Do we count Max? Yes or no?
No, that doesn't count as pole position. I don't think, does it? Because of the penalty.
Then no penalty.
He got the fastest time in qualifying, but it doesn't class him as pole position.
Then no points for us. Although else we would get 1 point.
It would have been the same either way, wouldn't it? So it doesn't matter.
We said Max would win. Unfortunately, they shortened the DRS zone, which we didn't know in advantage 2 weeks, but predicted that, which make it different.
And we both made the rookie mistake of forgetting that they'd probably take an engine penalty at Spa.
I didn't forget it. I think we actually mentioned it, but we said doesn't really matter. Last year they did it as well. They usually win it.
Yeah.
But the DRS zone was just too short for any overtakes because it was the most boring Spa race I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So hopefully they correct that mistake next year. But that meant that Russell won, except Russell didn't win.
Yeah, can I make a slight pick at this before we continue?
Definitely.
Russell, in a press interview after the summer holidays, basically saying, "In my mind, it was still a win. They can take it away from me, but I'm still happy that I won." He only won because he was driving at a pace that meant that he had no fuel for a fuel sample. If everyone else did that, they probably passed him. If he drove at a pace to make sure that he had the fuel at the end of the race, he probably wouldn't have won. He probably would have been passed by Hamilton and probably Piastri.
Not probably. They finished on 0.5 seconds.
Yeah,
So not
I
probably. He would
don't
have lost it.
I really don't like the mental gymnastics that he attempted to perform there to justify his win. He didn't race the race the same as everybody else. If he had, he wouldn't have won. So
He
anyway,
got disqualified fair and
yeah,
square.
he
Maybe
did.
not only his fault. Team should have looked at it as
Yeah, I
well.
mean,
But it happens.
if he'd just done the fuel saving that he needed to do for the fuel
Then he wouldn't won
sample,
it because
he
Hamilton would
wouldn't
have
have won
passed
it.
him.
But he probably would have finished like third or fourth, which would have still been a pretty good result for him from where he started. So and for doing that strategy,
One stop. Yeah.
yeah.
But
Anyway,
anyways, Russell didn't win either. So it was Lewis
no,
winning. We were
yay,
one race
Lewis.
off, winning 2 races in a year for Lewis.
Yeah.
Just as much as Lando does. Maybe you can
The thing
tell.
I'm most annoyed about that is we were robbed of a get in there Lewis from Bono.
And we won't ever get in there Lewis anymore next year.
No, yeah. I want to hear that at least once more this year because that's the end of an era.
I hope
right
so
there.
too, James. I hope
And I
so
want to
too.
hear Hammer Time. I want to hear one last Hammer Time.
I want to hear Hammer Time and I want to hear get in there Lewis and then see Max get the World Driver Championship Cup after that. All right. For anyone who doesn't know, Bono is staying at Mercedes, he's getting promotion, so he's not joining
Yeah,
Lewis at Ferrari.
it's effective immediately, but he's carrying on as Hamilton's race engineer. For
Basically,
the remainder of
like
the
you
season.
can't leave this team. Bono.
Yeah. Speaking of another slight going off piste here. You're talking about Max keeping the World Championship Cup. Have you seen where he stores that?
Yeah, next is Formula One
On top of a
like
mini fridge next to his sim racing equipment. There's a picture of his sim setup, and just casually by the side of it, on top of a mini fridge that's probably stocked full of Red Bull cans or whatever,
Yeah.
there's this championship trophy and some other junk just sat there on this mini fridge. I thought that was hilarious.
This is the funny thing, though. We don't have that worse setups that he does on a sim race.
It's better than mine, but yeah, I think.
But it's not. I mean, he got a customized chair, but that's about it.
Yeah,
the rest of the gear isn't that bad. But I don't have a World Drive Championship trophy to put next to my sim. Where can I buy one?
Yeah. I just thought that was brilliant. It's like that's the pinnacle of four-wheel racing.
Have you seen the documentary?
No.
There's a new Viaplay documentary, and that's all about what Max does besides Formula One.
Oh, okay.
The first one is basically all about the fact he likes to spend time at Team Redline, helping other drivers drive in the GT3 cars.
Yep.
The second one is all about the promotion he has to do, I think. With it's either the second or third one. There's 3 episodes. The other episode is about the promotion work he has to do besides the track and how he goes into that. He says, I just put my mind off, put 1% of my brain on, and I'll do the interviews because everyone's asking the same questions anyways. So I know what to answer. And the third one is what he does with sim racing and how he has his own team in sim racing and how he coaches that, how he performs there, and how he treats the drivers, which is pretty amazing to see. He doesn't talk much different against esports drivers than he does against his teammates or his own crew.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah.
But then he brings them to Zandvoort to enjoy the race in the VIP box. So it's a pretty cool insight. And he just says, if you think this is a game, you can go away because you don't know anything. I really like it. It's a cool show. I recommend everyone to have a peek at that if you have the option to check it out. It's like 20 minutes episodes, 3 episodes. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
James, with so much to talk about, mate, but let's finish the predictions first.
Predictions, get back to those, yeah.
Yes. The first DNF, you said Stroll, I said Lando. It was actually Zhu.
Yeah.
which we won't see next year anymore. And bonus, it was split between number 1 and 2 in second. You said this could be a 20-second difference. I said, it's probably 19.50-second difference.
And we already covered how close it was.
0.52 seconds. So I get a point there. It means currently we're on 23 to 21 in your advantage. Still,
it's very close.
Getting closer. James, we are going into Monza. Then my first question to you would be, in Monza, who's going to get pole position?
Leclerc.
Oh, is what I wanted to say as well. So I'm going to say Lando, which sounds a bit weird.
My head says Lando, but my heart says Leclerc.
I don't want to put Lando on top, but I think it's fair to say that the car will do well. Although Ferrari at Monza usually gives everything there. So we'll see. Interesting. So Monza, pole for James is Charles. Lando for me.
Yeah.
Who's going to win it?
Again. I just want to see that. It'd just be amazing.
I'm going to say
we're ignoring Sainz in all this, but Sainz
had a really good race this weekend as well. But I mean, Charles had a really good race. So
Leclerc had a phenomenal race by Ferrari standards.
I'm going to say Piastri wins it.
Oh, Piastri, okay.
Yeah. First DNF, and here's a fun thing. Oh well, fun. What's fun in life? You can't say Sargent anymore, James.
I know. Yeah, poor Sargent unceremoniously kicked.
Well, yeah. Is it poor Sargent though? Do we need to get into that, or is Sargent never going to be more than just a side note in this podcast? On the final episode where we talk about Sargent and Checo every single race in every single week.
Yeah, the thing is, we've sort of been calling this, along with probably the majority of Formula One podcasts and fans, that he's not lasting beyond this year, and he didn't even in the end last throughout this year, unfortunately for him. I think he's probably going to go to IndyCar, then he'll have a career in IndyCar, and I'm sure he'll do fairly well there.
True. Colapinto replaces him from Monza. So first DNF, Monza?
First DNF in Monza. I'm going to go with Ocon being overambitious in the first corner.
Oh, I'm going to go with Norris. Finishing that championship right off from the straight, on the straight in first line. First corner, famous in sim racing as well.
Very famous in online racing.
You said Ocon, right?
Yeah, Ocon, yeah. I'd hate to see it happen to Lando.
Me too, but not really.
I'd like to see a championship fight, so...
he can win Singapore then. He's going to get pole, so I didn't give him nothing there. Bonus question time. Well, you probably didn't think about any.
I think I came up with the last one with the split between first and second. I think.
That's a good question, though. Bonus question. What's the gap? How many places are between? And I'm just going to say how are you going to calculate this? If one of them finished 10th, the second gets 5th, it's 10 minus 5 is 5 different. How many places different between both Mercedes?
One. I think they'll finish one behind the other.
I'm going to go with 2.
Yeah.
Because you have to be closest. I wanted to say 4, but I was like, no, this is a safe bet. I'm just going to go with 2. Although every single safe bet we've done this year, I lost. But hey.
I need to make it harder for you to do that. I need to start saying like 2, and then you're like, do I say 1 or do I say 3?
Exactly. But hey.
Yeah. Okay. Now I know your tactics. I'll take that into consideration next time.
But the one that makes the question gets the answer second as well. So this was yours to head in, my friend.
Yeah.
All right. We got that out of the way. I'm looking forward to it. We'll be back next week for sure with a different name, different color scheme, different looks, different host. No, not the last time.
Different host. Yeah, we've both been sacked by ourselves.
No, it's going to be a weird conversation with my boss.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how things look and sound next week, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Thank you, James.
Yeah, thank you.
See you next week. Thank you all for listening us. Like we said, just keep an eye out on this feed. Keep an eye out on our channels. We'll be posting it, and we know we might lose people in transition. Perhaps we don't hope so, but we hope to reach many new fans on the new ones. And we'll be way more active on socials afterwards as well. I think that's another change we'll be making. So I'm also looking forward to meeting new people online like this.
Yeah.
So.
And if you like sim racing, there'll be a bit of that for you as well.
Definitely. If you like slow racing, look at me. If you like fast racing, look at James.
You're hyping me up too much. I'm not that fast. I'm just faster than you, I think.
That's like you're my Ocon to my Gasly. James, see you next week, my friend. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.